Are you a woman standing at a crossroads, eager for change? It's time to connect with your authentic and empowered self at Boss Leap. Join Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker in this empowering community where real-life stories of courageous and talented women inspire and motivate. Engage in honest conversations that foster well-being, drawing from our own journeys. Let us guide you toward profound growth and transformation in both your personal and professional life. Here are your hosts, Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker.
Welcome back to Boss Leap, the show about the bold moves, quiet pivots, and leaps of faith that shape who we become. I'm Dr. Angela Walker.
And I'm Dr. Sylvia Morris. And today we have a guest whose story stopped us both in our tracks.
She is a chiropractor, a researcher, an educator, and an entrepreneur who opened her own practice in the middle of a pandemic in one of DC's most beloved neighborhoods.
And somehow walked away with not one, not two, but 5 consecutive Best Chiropractor titles from Washington City paper. 5 years, 5 wins. Dr. Kimball, welcome to Boss Leap.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we are so excited. It was a pleasure to meet you. And as characteristic of our show, we'd love for you to take us maybe all the way back. You've described chiropractic as a childhood dream. Where did that dream come from? And was there a specific moment, a person, or an experience that made you say, that's it, that's what I want to do?
Yeah, I was actually really sick as a child, and the illnesses I had never fit well into the box that Western medicine was trying to figure out for me. For example, I really struggled to breathe. I couldn't run in gym class, and I was like 6 years old and was really struggling. Yet I could pass an asthma test, and there were a lot of gut health symptoms. I would say breathing and gut health were the top 2, but even like scrapes and bruises didn't heal quickly for me. I went through all of the medical testing for it, and it came back all negative. So I had this experience as a kid of feeling very frustrated, feeling really not listened to. I even had the experience growing up where I heard a doctor tell my mom, I just think she's making it up. And
no.
Wow.
yeah.
That's horrific.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah. And, I was really young at the time. I was in like first or second grade. And it really left an impact on me of feeling frustrated. So kind of fast forwarding a bit, because I didn't fit into a diagnosis, I really didn't receive too much care. It was you're not dying, so you can move forward sort of situation. And I was interested in science, but I really had a desire to make this experience better for other people. And I liked science. I actually was not interested in going into direct care because I had some negative experiences. I was thinking of maybe doing something more on the research side of things, and I still love research and still do that now. But what really shifted everything for me was when I did a job shadow day in high school. Because of my interest in science, I had done the program a couple of times, but I got assigned one of these times to shadow a chiropractor.
Wow.
And I thought that I wasn't going to be interested in it. I thought that chiropractic was for older people with back pain. And I went and that was it, which I think is a big misconception. And I went in and shadowed this chiropractor who had his own private practice. And he told me the chiropractic story of really what it's all about, helping the body heal from within, helping the brain and the body communicate more effectively, and really coming down to the root of, your body is designed to heal and is always trying to heal. Even if it's not always expressing that in the best way, it's trying to heal. That's what differentiates the living from the dead. The paper cut on your finger, you don't have to think about it. It's going to heal on its own. And this is kind of the underlying assumption of a lot of Western medicine, which is for many things, not all things, but for many things, let's try to make you comfortable while the body does its thing. And so chiropractic is trying to help that process of the body's innate healing happen more efficiently, more effectively by improving that communication between the brain and the rest of the body so that the brain is receiving status reports from all of our body parts and then coordinating the best possible response and sending those instructions out. So this
Wow.
explanation to me,
Love that.
yeah. So this explanation to me like sucked me in right away. And I was just all in on that idea. And I think I just fell in love with chiropractic like in a moment. And I had never even experienced it yet. So I had been interested in research, especially this move towards personalized medicine, saying, if people don't fit into the box, like how can we make it more personalized to the person? And for me, this idea of that innate healing is really the most personalized medicine that you could ever have because it's the idea that the body knows more than any doctor could.
So
So,
it's interesting.
Kelly,
You brought up so much, and I have so many
yes.
like follow-up questions from that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Number one, I find it interesting that you were introduced to chiropractic as in high school because I think
Mhm.
I'm sure Sylvia probably has a similar experience. I was introduced to nursing and medicine, whether it was MD or DO, never chiropractic. So I mean I
Right.
didn't have an understanding of it. Now, at my first practice, I practiced with a doctor that was a doctor of osteopathy. And so I got a little bit of understanding from, that perspective of medicine, but still not chiropractic medicine. And it really wasn't until I had my child had an injury and the orthopedic MD had discussed, chiropractic care. And so I think it's just interesting that unless you're introduced, unless you see it and hear it, touch it, feel it, that you really may not understand all aspects. And I'm welcome to, I think, all aspects of medicine that, that makes sense and have some evidence behind it. Second question I have, Sylvia, I know you've got a question as well, but second question is, how did your mom deal with you mentioned your mother. I don't know if, any other adults in your life, but how did she handle what was going on? Because I imagine as a parent, it's frustrating and dependent upon her background and her knowledge. She could have taken that information from the doctor as the gospel
Mhm.
or said, "No, I don't believe this. I think something's really going on with my child." I'm just curious, how it was received.
Yeah, I think that my memory from that time, being very young was just that we just kind of continued going to all of these doctor's appointments until we just really
Mhm.
hit a dead end in all of them. So
Wow.
I think ultimately it ultimately became a dead end. And, the issues were kind of still there, but
Mhm.
it wasn't necessarily taking it as gospel, but it also wasn't writing off that idea, I think, of or even just taking it as like, well, they don't see anything wrong, so hopefully
Mhm.
it's
Everything's
okay.
okay.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah,
somewhere in between. Yeah.
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 Oh, wow.
And then forgive me for being very Western. Um, did they someone come up with a diagnosis, or how is it that you are, I presume, well or better now?
Yeah. So, after this job shadow day, I kind of went home and I couldn't stop talking about it. And I was like, I really want to try this. So I asked my parents, I was like, could I just try this for me and like, let's
Mhm,
see how it works out. And yeah, I feel like my health just dramatically improved. I was
mhm,
someone who was always out sick from school, always getting colds. That really died down. I was
mm.
able to run. I ran a half marathon. That was incredible.
Wow.
Wow,
So
awesome.
it, yeah. So I used to be on like triple adult doses of different like supplements for gut health things, and I no longer need those. And so
Mm,
it was really incredible. And I think that it's the, it's the slow progress over time. For me, it wasn't like an instant moment.
mhm,
But really with chiropractic, what it came down to is like my body really wasn't healing well because of that because that misalignment was leading to miscommunications through the nervous system. So the diagnosis given is really just the the misalignment diagnosis. So it's called segmental somatic dysfunction of like the cervical region, the thoracic region, the lumbar region, the sacral region, wherever that was adjusted. Really just saying there's a chiropractic issue. There wasn't a larger diagnosis of something autoimmune or something like that.
And that's good.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that that's good. So, a chiropractic issue, because you're dealing with the nervous system, can lead to so many different types of symptoms. But it doesn't mean every problem's a chiropractic problem. So, there might be someone with a gut health problem where that's, they might be helped by chiropractic, but they might also have an allergy or like lactose intolerant. I don't know, something like that. But I think that for me, where all those other stones were uncovered and kind of came up as nothing, what I had, all that was left was a chiropractic problem. Yeah, and even the immune system element. So I was part of a small study that looked at how chiropractic influences the immune system, and we adjusted just the upper neck, and then we measured immune biomarkers in saliva before the adjustment, 30 minutes after the adjustment, 2 weeks later. And this is a small study, but we're able to see that immune system is kicking into gear and changing at that 30-minute mark, but also that it's coming back to homeostasis. We don't want things to be elevated indefinitely because that's autoimmunity, but just kind of helping the body re-regulate. The idea being if there's a misalignment and the body can't see an issue, once we bring that back online, the brain can see it and then handle it and then bring us back to baseline.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. We know that alignment is important kind of in our outside worlds as well as far as what we do and how we move. Let's look at your actual chiropractic practice. You're a chiropractor now, and your practice is called Agape, which is the Greek word for unconditional love. Can you
Yes.
talk about the name?
Yeah. Well, I named it for unconditional love because I think that unconditional love is a great basis for healthcare to try to meet each person from a place of like trying to meet them where they're at, trying to help them, but also trying to meet them in love. And I think that it also comes out of that childhood experience for me of really feeling like I was met with some callousness and wishing I could have at least, I think it even would have been helpful at that time to be met with someone being like, we don't really know what's going on, but like I can see that there is a problem. I'm just not sure if I can help you. I think that even being able to say that is so helpful and truly so healing too.
Yeah. It's like I see you and I hear you and I
you.
respect what you're saying. I can't, I don't know what it is. I say that oftentimes.
Yeah.
And then you opened Agape Family Chiropractic during the pandemic. So this is
Yes.
2020. Where did you get the moxie to take that leap?
Yeah, well, I graduated from chiropractic school February 28th, 2020.
Oh my gosh.
2 weeks
Oh, wow.
before the world shuts down.
So your wheels were already in motion, though.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what's actually really interesting is at the time. So I also got married during 2020. My
You were
husband
doing
had been in
all the
law
things.
school.
Hey.
Yep. We had our 2020. I actually had my graduation because in chiropractic school we were on a trimester system. So my graduation being in February, we actually had that.
Wow.
But my husband and I graduated from our grad programs. He's a lawyer, and we had been long distance for 4 years, and so we got married at Georgetown, which I know you both are alums. So
Yes.
and my
Lawyer
husband, I
Saxon.
met him at Georgetown. Yeah. And so we got married during the pandemic, and I think there was this attitude of like, I'm not going to let this stop me. This is what I've wanted to do for so long. In a way, it felt so delayed. I know that it's not really delayed, but just like getting through school, knowing what I want to do,
Absolutely.
and being so excited to be there.
Sure. Yeah.
I was just like, there's no more delays. People need healthcare right now. And what I did was I actually started with house calls, because to me, I was like, there's no point in getting a brick and mortar at the moment. Let's start with house calls. And just
Right.
given the nature of a house call and me as a woman, I started with people I knew or immediate referrals. So I wasn't doing a huge,
Okay.
a huge like marketing campaign at that time. But I started that way, and I had my table. I packed it up into my Volkswagen Beetle and drove around
That's so
adjusting
cute.
families. I had one family. I would like set up my table in their kitchen, and I always remember they would have like their Alexa play spa music while all five of
Oh,
them would get adjusted. It was very
That's
fun. I
perfect.
enjoyed it.
uh,
Um, and then I
that's
eventually decided that lugging around my table really wasn't great for my own spine, and I was
mm,
ready to make that move into the brick and mortar, which I did in November of 2020. And
okay.
yeah,
Again,
yeah,
that's gutsy because we
Hmm.
still were kind of like, I think the
so
vaccine
early.
had maybe had just come out, and it
Not for the
was,
general public, but yeah, I think,
Yeah, for
yeah,
healthcare
just
workers.
for
Yeah.
healthcare
wow.
providers. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and for me also DC, so I'm based in DC, but DC stopped issuing licenses because they require an in-person licensing exam. So I actually just got licensed in Virginia and then
Wow.
took the reciprocal. It was like an emergency reciprocal licensing program where they allowed
Wow.
other states in because of the pandemic. So that was my workaround for that. It was
Wow.
yeah, it was creative thinking, and I I enjoyed it a lot. I actually think, really fondly on that time.
So, I mean, it sounds like so many ways you could answer this question, but what was the hardest part of building this practice literally from the ground up, have table will travel into a full practice? What surprised you the most about what it actually took?
I think a lot of people ask me about the hardest part or the most unexpected part, but for me, it was really just joyful. Like, I enjoyed it so much. It was very time consuming, but I think it comes
Hmm.
down to, if you're doing what you love, that's what
Yes.
gives you energy. And so I was
Mm.
gaining energy from my work. And some things were a little bit stressful, like the licensing, but I was like, once we figure out a workaround, it's all
Mhm.
good. We'll just keep moving forwards. And I eventually then got my DC license before the switch changed back. So yeah, it was a really joyful time. I think there were a lot of hours, but I also expected it to be a lot of hours. It was really, really fun. And I think that it really comes down to like, I think maybe I expected it to be maybe a slog. And it just came down to like, I think I love this and it gives me energy to do it. And so
Yeah,
it was a surprise in a way that it was so happy.
I
Well,
get
it
that.
sounds like you were also living your dream
Yes.
and the joy that you were able to give other people.
Hmm.
Because if we think back to those times,
Yeah.
having someone come to your home for a house call,
Mhm.
that was a way which we connected with people. And yeah, that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
you mentioned the body's innate body to heal. So help us understand what that looks like when you examine and take care of a patient.
Yeah, I think so chiropractic is based on this idea that the body has an innate ability to heal. And as I had kind of said before, I think this is almost just a baseline assumption of a lot of medicine, but in a way we almost forget it. And I think that people come into a chiropractor's office for a number of different reasons. Some people are more holistically minded, and for other people, it's because they don't have anywhere else they can go. They've already been everywhere else and they may not even really want to be there, but they're like, I'll try anything.
Mhm.
And so, especially for those people who might have more complex cases or more things that aren't well explained, just because our science hasn't risen to that level yet to explain everything about the human body. And so for those people, I think it's always important to start by reminding them that your body's trying to heal. And even if it's creating these symptoms, it's trying to tell us something. It did this to survive something, and that's good. We want to survive, but maybe how we survived is not how we want to live. And so now we're going to try to help the body realize that it's safe to adapt and heal, and give the body the information it needs to heal appropriately too. So I do, at my initial patient visits, a very long and detailed history where I take in everything or do full review of all body systems, and it's very thorough. So I spend a lot of time with patients. And I talk about their whole health because chiropractic has the potential to influence your whole health. And as I said before, it doesn't mean every problem's a chiropractic problem, but a chiropractic problem could lead to many different types of symptoms because we're dealing with the nervous system. And so I asked about
And
the
when
whole
you say
body.
nervous system, for those of
Mhm.
us who are not in healthcare or medicine, what is the nervous system?
Yeah, the nervous system is your brain, your spinal cord, your nerves, and that is how information travels from the brain and to every other part of the body. This is really the communication that helps the brain know how to coordinate our healing.
Mhm.
And the it's I feel like at initial visits too, I do a lot of patient education about this idea too that the
Mhm.
body can heal, what chiropractic really is about, which is that communication and trying to help the body do its thing. And I always tie back to different areas. So when I ask about different body systems, I'm talking to patients about where that might relate back to in the spine. Like, for example, many people have reflux, the nerves that kind of are involved to those parts of the body come from between the shoulder blades. And so there's sometimes there can be a correlation, or people may not mention something because they don't think it's related to how chiropractic can help them. And so I'm really talking about the whole body, how it relates to the spine, always how it is related to chiropractic, to kind of tell them, I'm not just asking this to be nosy. I'm asking this because it's all connected.
So me
Mhm.
standing or sitting at a laptop all day, kind of like this, could in fact influence, or my body then can be respond with my heartburn that I have.
It's
That's what my take
possible.
home.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
because when you say
possible.
shoulder
Yeah.
blades, now I'm getting a free consult. So I'm like, oh, I have a lot of tension in my shoulder blades. Is that gonna okay?
Yeah. It's a very common one. And my practice is in DC where people
Mhm.
tend to run on the high stress side of the
Just a
the
little
nervous
bit.
system. Yeah.
Just a
And
tad.
so I talk a lot about that balancing between our fight or flight response and our rest and digest. The
Mhm.
sympathetic is the fight or flight, the parasympathetic is that rest and digest. And our parasympathetic nerves are at the top of the spine and the bottom of the spine. So the upper neck and then the tailbone and low back. So misalignments in those spots can basically interfere with our ability to like turn on the parasympathetic, or in other words, like activate our rested side. It makes it more easy to get stuck in a fight or flight response when we can't activate that other side of the nervous system as efficiently. And this isn't an on-off sort of thing. You can think of it like a dimmer switch on a light bulb, or just saying that this communication is going down to maybe 95% instead of 100%. So we're still functioning, but there might be some things that get missed and can build up over time. So people may not notice a misalignment initially because can be a small change, but they might notice it down the road. And so it's twofold. Many people come in with a symptom and we address that symptom first, but I always talk
Mhm.
about that preventative side of health and wellness too, and give people the option of if they would like to then continue for preventative and maintenance or wellness care that they can, because we can kind of find those issues before you really get the downstream symptoms.
So I think this is probably the first time I've ever had someone explain kind of the whole notion of the communication between the brain, the spinal cord, the spine itself, which encases the spinal cord. So you're giving us a lot of great information. I think just kind of background information for even physicians like ourselves. I can speak for myself. Tell me, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about chiropractic that you find yourself correcting maybe over and over again?
I think just initially, probably the number one is that it's only for back and neck pain, which
Mhm.
I've talked a lot about already. I think that
Yes.
many people think that we're just there for that pain, or even just pain generally, when really it's
Mhm.
about functioning as a whole.
Mm.
I also think that in this current age of AI, People have seen a lot of maybe AI videos of chiropractic on the internet and come in very, very scared to be adjusted. So I think there's misconceptions about what an adjustment looks like. We're not breaking anyone's bones. and and I think people are very nervous about the any popping or cracking. So another big misconception is that chiropractic is only popping and cracking. While there are manual adjustments, I'm also one of many chiropractors trained in low force techniques, which adjust the spine with zero popping or cracking.
That's good to know because certainly I have
Yeah.
heard anecdotally a lot of that. So I worried kind of, if something could go wrong as far as that is concerned with all of
Sure.
the adjustments and popping and cracking. So thank you for really dispelling that myth. And then I
Sure.
also wonder, how do you have the conversation with someone that comes in and you identify that, well, perhaps chiropractic care is not the best thing for them?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think that I always talk with them about what I find or what I don't find, and I do a thorough report then as well. So I make a lot of referrals, and I have a very broad network, which is awesome. So sometimes someone will come in with a particular issue, and maybe it's not a chiropractic issue at all. Sometimes even just on the phone, I've sent people being like, I think maybe you need to go to urgent care on this one or the emergency department because there might be something like that. If so, that's the first line of defense. But then when people are coming in for an issue that could be a chiropractic issue. If the exam is not lining up with these symptoms, then I'll tell them, this is something real, but I don't think that you have the chiropractic findings that line up. And maybe they don't have any chiropractic findings. That's always good in a way, because then there's if your spine's aligned, then I'll help you on your way to someone else who can help you. Or maybe they do have some chiropractic findings, but where those nerves go are just not related to their main complaint. And I'll talk with them saying, you have these findings. I don't think this is related to that. And this is where we go for this main issue. If you want to address the more holistic elements, I'm happy to help
Mhm.
you. But also, sometimes people need to focus on their main priority, especially if they're dealing with something that is very
Yeah.
painful or really, dysregulating to their life. That they need to take care of that first. And I'm here if they're, if they need me later.
I'm curious, because when I listen to you and some of the themes that you're talking about, holistic and healing from within, it reminds me of some, philosophies in terms of like lifestyle medicine, which,
Mhm.
I've incorporated in my practice, and maybe functional medicine. Do you have certain routes that you, I guess, refer to, or do you just have your own kind of cadre of providers in your area?
I mean, in a way, a little bit of both. I think there are certain things that I really respect as a whole, and even if I didn't have a certain person yet, I would recommend it more generally. Something like
Mhm.
acupuncture. I'm a big, I think acupuncture is
Okay.
great. So I'm always going to be looking for an acupuncturist, and I have great acupuncturists I refer to now. I also refer to functional medicine, and I think that finding the right person is so important because my experience was a little bit more negative with the Western medicine, but many people have that exact experience with chiropractic too, and of finding someone who's not listening to them or telling them chiropractic can help with XYZ and it can't, and
Mhm.
and that I don't want people to have that experience. And so I think that finding the individual provider is really important, of finding someone who listens really well. And I love functional medicine. And I think that finding people who will take the time to go through all the details of someone's history is just invaluable.
Mhm.
And I'm hearing
Good.
integrity as well as listening. And all forms of medicine, whether it's chiropractic or Western, allopathic, all of those do much better and we have better outcomes if we listen. And the
Yeah.
answer, truthfully, is always with the patient. And if we are able to draw upon that then it really does help to shape our interactions and things
Well
are
said.
improved. Certainly, you started out joyfully in February or March of
Mhm.
2020 doing your house calls from your Beetle. And then in November of 2020, you opened a brick and mortar. And here we are 5, 6 years later, and you have won 5 consecutive Best Chiropractor awards. You have 5 consecutive years won Best Chiropractor from Washington City Paper. That's a big deal for such a new practice. Can you put on your entrepreneur hat and kind of talk about how you knew that what you were building at Agape Family Chiropractic was moving in the direction and doing some really great things?
I thank you, and like I said, I love what I do. um, it meant so much to me when we did win that because it's a readers poll, so it's entirely voted on by
Mhm.
patients.
Mhm.
And to me, that was just huge because I have a small practice. Because I spend more time with people, I can't see as many people as a practice that maybe has quicker appointments and they can see more people in a day. And so in order to win that, I really needed a really high percentage of my practice to vote for me. And so it meant a lot to do that. But that also meant just building out my networks and different referral systems so that I could see a lot of patients. And so when I started, I started with the house calls and I started building a following that way. When I put myself into the brick and mortar, I also bought a chiropractor's patient list who was retiring and kind of took on some existing patients that way. And I went right into his space as he was retiring and it worked out great because the equipment was there. It was a known chiropractic office already, right in Georgetown in DC. And so, yeah, and it was actually a chiropractor who I had known a long time because he was my chiropractor when I was a Georgetown student. So I had been looking for a brick and mortar space at the time. I didn't actually consider Georgetown just because I guess my
It's
own limiting
pricey, I
belief,
would think.
I was too
Absolutely.
expensive.
Yes.
Yeah, and I had only reached out to him to get adjusted for myself because I get adjusted regularly, and
Mm.
I was there, I got adjusted, and we had kept in touch a little bit while I was in school, and he was like, "You wanna be here? I wanna retire," and, it was just this beautiful meeting of worlds. Initially, I was like, "Oh, no, I couldn't," and I was like, "Maybe I
Why
could."
not you?
Can,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, it worked out great. He did a slow retirement, and we were in the same space for a number of years, working opposite hours. And then he fully retired in 2023, and yeah, it was great. So I built out. I had some patients coming in that way, which also helped grow my business, which I would say really grew more starting in 2023 because he
Mhm.
didn't. He had always worked part time, so he didn't reduce his hours, and most of his patients still saw him. I basically rented a room from him while buying out the patient list until he retired, and people got to know me because I was around. And then I did a lot of networking in Georgetown. I was part of a BNI group, which was
BNI?
BNI is Business Networking International, and there's a lot of chapters throughout the country. There was a Georgetown chapter that had been around for a long time, and I felt like I fit in well with. So I met with them every single week and
Mm.
basically got to talk with everybody in the group about what is chiropractic, and in a way, you get to kind of build out your team. So just as I learned about their businesses and what would be a good referral for them, they got to learn about my business and what a good referral would be for me. And I really focused on building partnerships. So not necessarily looking for patients, but looking for like a pediatric physical therapist and like
Sure.
finding these referral partners that are so helpful to build out your practice long term.
Can
Nice.
you talk a little bit about just the mentorship and kind of coaching that you had from the chiropractors whose practice you joined and then bought, or I should say?
So I would say I have like two main chiropractic mentors. The one where I started in Connecticut, I shadowed in high school and became a patient. Later worked in the office in high school at the front desk, and then scribed for him as well, and would work there in the summers during college. So I was with him a long time. I also was with and then when I was in college, saw this chiropractor in Georgetown where I now in a way, carry on his legacy with his
You
patients.
do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that they've both been they're both very different from each other and helpful for different things. So when I joined the practice, kind of by really just renting a side room, this chiropractor was very clear where he was like, I don't want to manage anyone. I want someone who's going to do their own thing. And I was like, well, that's great because I'm hesitant about jumping into something already existing. I really want to build my own thing. And
Yeah.
so it was very symbiotic. And we love talking with each other as well. And it was helpful for discussion of maybe some patient cases and ideas. But like I said, we usually we overlap on Friday mornings, and that was our routine for those 3 years.
Nice. So you answered one of the questions I had. Is just curious if you got adjusted yourself, and you had mentioned that you did in high school. So
Mhm.
it sounds like it's something that you've continued to do. What do you tell like high achieving women who are, a lot of our listeners who genuinely believe I don't have enough time to do this. I mean, that's way outside of, my number one comfort zone or, you know, time allotment for something, that may be considered even like self-care versus, caring for the body. What do you tell those
Sure.
people?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very common thing to be really spread thin for women who wear many hats, and then for DC women who are often very high achieving, maybe intense jobs. And I think that you know an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. As cliche as that may be, it really does go a long way. Another way of saying that is just, if you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness.
Pay me
Right.
now or pay me later.
Maybe later.
And it's always up to everyone has a different point where it really affects them. And that's one of the things that I'll ask in a new patient exam is just, you know, why now? Especially because most people come in with something that's been going on for a while. What made you seek out care right now? And sometimes it's just hit a point where it's like, well, now I can't lift up my child or whatever it may be. There's something that's really the true motivator, and it's usually not pain, and it's usually not just discomfort. It's how it's affecting your life. And I think that talking with people who really don't have a lot of time, I talk about getting, when they come in an acute stage, we're trying to get ahead of muscle memory. But then I talk about like, trying to stay ahead of muscle memory because, or stay ahead of muscle memory. Hopefully, we're able to retrain that muscle memory entirely, potentially. Depends on what it is going on. That's actually why I'm very passionate about working with kids. They have a lot less muscle memory, and you can set them up for a really great life ahead if you're able to address these things early. But hopefully we can take care of the muscle memory, stay ahead of that for those adults, and then focus on giving your body the adaptability to address the small things that come up in your day to day. Because if we are running very close to our threshold of overwhelm, then there might be something very small that happens that puts us over that threshold. And now we have a big acute issue that's going to take a while to heal from. If we do some of that maintenance care, we can stay well below that threshold with room for those daily stressors to go up and down. And that's my hope for everybody so that they can do the things that they love to do.
Yeah, it sounds like you're helping us be a lot more resilient. I never knew that chiropractic care did all of these things. So I am so thankful that you are here to share that with us. And you mentioned taking care of children in the pediatric population. And that's certainly not something that I knew that chiropractors did. And so can you tell us about being Webster certified, and which is a specialized training certainly in pediatric and newborn care, and what drove you to serve both pregnant and patients as well as babies?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Webster certified. Webster's actually on the pregnancy side. So that's a special
Mhm.
technique to help pregnant women, help them maintain alignment, which pregnant women often have many types of symptoms, but even if you have no symptoms, chiropractic can help your birth just go more smoothly. If baby's lined up right and mama's all ready and there aren't restrictions, birth goes a lot more easily. Also, on the neurological side, the brain has to coordinate a big response with labor and delivery. And so chiropractic is helpful for all of that. And I love working with pregnant women and I love working with kids because to me, the earlier you can see someone, the more change you can affect. Um, I was really fortunate that I found chiropractic in high school and I always think if I had found this when I was 6 years old, that part of my childhood could have looked very different. But many people don't find chiropractic until they're 60. So they're, or later, or not at all. And I think that the sooner the better. And so I'm really passionate about working with kids and even in the womb too. I consider that, we only adjust mom. We don't do any, in utero adjustments for baby, but we're trying to balance mom's pelvis so baby has the most space to grow and to heal. And even those small things affect the baby, even though we are only adjusting mom. Even simple things like I've enrolled my practice right now in yet another study where we're repeating results from previous studies that have shown that Webster technique can be helpful when there's a breech baby to help them move into a head down position. And so, again, we're never moving baby. We're only adjusting mom's pelvis to give baby the best opportunity to move on their own. So right now, I'm always looking for people who have breech babies to kind of help repeat the results on this study. But regardless of that, if you were breech, many women will have a C-section, and that affects that baby as well. We know that there's a lot of effects on the microbiome to be born by C-section versus vaginal delivery, and of course, C-sections are necessary. That is a better outcome than many other options. But if we also, I won't say but, I'll say and if we have the opportunity to try to help that baby move into a head down position, that could also change their outcomes going forwards, change their microbiome. You can affect so much more the earlier you work with someone. So I love working with those populations. And I think those populations tend to share my experience of feeling like maybe there may not be as many perfect diagnoses for really women, pregnant women, and children because these populations are hard to study. And so we don't have as robust literature, which means there's not as many boxes to fit into. And chiropractic, we don't have to fit into the box. We just try to help the body do its own thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm an OBGYN. I don't know if you knew that, Kelly. But my experience with chiropractic care in pregnancy is mostly anecdotal, and there's typically the patients that were already seeing a chiropractor, but by and large had really, great things to say about how they felt during pregnancy. I'd be really interested to know, what your study shows in terms of, breech position, reverse to vertex, because we all know that it either happens or it doesn't. And even with, manual manipulation, it either happens or it doesn't. It's kind of 50-50. So when I've had patients that ask, I'm like, as long as they're following, guidelines, sure, and try. So Very interesting that you have this whole dynamic of, adult medicine, pregnancy, and kids. I love all of that. So tell us, you believe that, all people are meant to experience the fullness of life, and that is only possible at optimal health. So that's a big, beautiful statement that you've given. What does like the fullness of life mean to you personally?
Yeah, I think that the fullness of life, well, where this statement comes from is
Mhm.
actually a quote usually attributed to Saint Irenaeus, that the glory of God is the human person fully alive. And I think that you could also say, like, the greatest good is the human person fully alive. That's where we're able to do the most. And I think that um, we can reach that fully alive state where we're able to do the things that we want to do and be the people we want to be and affect the change in the world that we're trying to affect for good. We need our health to be able to do that. And so to me, it's a very big picture view of saying that this is not only best for the individual, but it's also the best for our world. And I think that that idea of the fullness of life is being able to experience life and maybe not be held back by your health, but more than that, being able to really live it to the fullest. Sometimes I talk to people about a spectrum of negative 100 to positive 100. Negative 100 being your worst suffering, 0 being I'm not held back by any disease, that's gone. But then positive 100 is saying I have optimal functioning. I'm really able to like dig into the things I love. And chiropractic not only works on that negative to 0, but the 0 to 100. And that's why the Olympic teams of chiropractors are trying to optimize their performance and really say, like, what can we do? What can we think of in the positive sense? And so to me, the fullness of life is that positive 100, trying to help all people get there.
Got it.
We all want to get to
Nice.
positive 100,
100.
and
Absolutely.
the world could certainly use more people who were functioning optimally for good. That's yeah, that's fantastic. Can you give some advice for someone who may be thinking about opening their own practice, but certainly the timing doesn't feel quite right?
Yeah, I think that if you really feel passionately about opening your own practice or opening your own business, doing whatever project it may be, I really think you should do it. Just go for it because certainly there's never a perfect time. There's also less perfect times than others, but if it's something that's going to give you energy, it's worth doing now and maybe in a modified way, kind of like from my own story. I definitely didn't envision starting out with house calls, but I still got to participate in something that was giving me energy. If I were to have delayed maybe 2 years before opening, I think it really would have drained me and it would have been harder to open at that point.
You're wrong.
And so if it's really what you love to do, and by that I mean if it's something that's going to give you energy, there's no time like the present.
Wow. So love that. And I think we can pretty much take that to all facets of life. And no matter what you're doing in life, even if you're not opening your own business, right? Just finding ways to give life, give energy. Sounds like for you, definitely passion and purpose in what you're doing. And so thank you so much for all that you shared. I think this was really eye opening, enlightening in all ways. And we love to close Boss Leap with this question because we believe that the leap requires you to actually take care of the leaper or the person that's leaping. So, Dr. Kimball, you preach optimal health for living. Walk us through what your own self care regime looks like. How do you pour back into you?
Well, I get adjusted regularly by my chiropractor.
Okay.
We and I also regularly go to acupuncture. And right now, like monthly physical therapy. So I had
Oh,
a baby a year ago, and
absolutely.
Yes.
rehabbing
CT.
my core is so important.
Mhm.
Yes.
And so I try to take care of myself, you know, physically in those ways. And then I think it's also really important to take care of yourself on, what's giving you life. I'm lucky to be someone who gets a lot of that life and energy out of my work. And I also get a lot of that out of spending time with my family. I have a 1 year old and spending time with my husband. And um, all of us love to dance. That's always big for me.
Oh,
Love
So
that.
yeah, the my husband and I have ballroom danced for a long time, and
Wow.
before I was pregnant, I was in a tap dancing company in DC, and
oh
so
my.
I still
Love
dabble,
that.
but that's always important. So the things
Yes.
that give you joy are important too, and I can't wait until my son is big enough to bring him to the parent-child tap class.
Oh,
That
very
sounds
sweet.
fun. Is there
Love
like
it.
a non-negotiable for you on a daily basis
As far as something, well, the
that
things that I
keeps
really
you
do every
grounded?
day.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I would say, like, different contexts. So at work, before every single day at work, I always say, "Lord, send me the people who I can help."
Uh-huh.
That's very important to me. I want the
I
people
like
who I
that.
can help to come in through my
Absolutely.
door. And, I always do a visualization of my day, a visualization of my ideal patient, and a list of
Oh.
affirmations before I see anyone so that I'm in the right headspace to take care of people. Um,
I love that.
it's
That
important to
that will
me.
definitely be
Mhm.
one of my takeaways today. I love that.
Mhm.
So, Dr. Kimball, thank you again so much. This has been fantastic. It was lovely meeting you in person. And we know our listeners, especially there in DC, would love to know how to find you, but this just our listeners in general, and maybe where to find you on social media, how to visit your practice, and follow everything that you're building there at Agape.
Yeah, so my practice, Agape Family Chiropractic, is located in the Georgetown neighborhood of Washington, D.C. The best way to reach us is probably through the website, which is agapefamilychiropractic.com. On Instagram, it's Agape Family Chiro or Dr. Kelly Kimball. And we're also Agape Family Chiropractic on Facebook. And those are probably our best social media spots. But I think that the website's usually the best place to get in touch.
Perfect. And we'll put those in our show notes.
So, Dr. Kelly Kimball, thank you so much for your time, your honesty, and really for educating us on what chiropractic care is. Thank you for reminding us that being rooted in love in the middle of the hardest season and watching it become something extraordinary.
5 years, 5 titles. Georgetown is absolutely lucky to have you, Dr. Kimball, and we are too. So thank you so much for taking this leap with us today.
And to
Thank you.
everyone listening,
Yeah.
if today moved you with Dr. Kelly Kimball, please share, like, listen, and subscribe this episode with someone who needs a little reminder that a leap is never wasted.
And we'll see you on the next episode. Until then, keep leaping and may you be well.
May you be well.
That's a wrap on another episode of Boss Leap. May this conversation enlighten your path toward personal growth and professional empowerment. For more thought-provoking and eye-opening discussions like this one, head to our website at bossleappodcast.com. Always remember to celebrate your wins and trust yourself. A positive mindset can push you out of your comfort zone and into far greater heights. Until next time, may you be well.
Before we go, there's one more thing the lawyers have asked us to include. It's the legal language, and you know how doctors love lawyers. This podcast is presented only for educational and entertainment purposes. Although we are doctors, on this show, we are just your friends. This podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals. Understood? Awesome. We'll see you in the next episode.